Scott London, if you want to come up and show us, give us a look at the Texas Constitution.
Well, I'm going to just jump right in it. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about speedy trial and bail. And so we'll start with the Texas Constitution Bill of Rights, which, by the way, did you know that the Texas Bill of Rights recently celebrated its birthday?
Yeah.
February 15th, 1876. 146 years old, our Bill of Rights. And so anyways, we're going to continue on in Section 10. The right of the accused in a criminal prosecution, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall have the right to a speedy and public and impartial jury, which we also see in the Sixth Amendment. He shall have the right to demand the nature and cause of the accused against him and have a copy thereof, which is also covered in the Sixth Amendment. He shall not be compelled to give evidence against himself, which we see in the Fifth Amendment, and shall have the right of being heard by himself or counsel or both, which we see in the Sixth. He shall be confronted by witnesses against him, see that in the Sixth. He shall have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, also in the Sixth. Except when the witnesses resides out of state and the offender charged is a violation of any of the antitrust laws in this state, the defendant and the state shall have the right to produce and have the evidence admitted by deposition under such rules and laws as the legislature may hereafter provide. And no person shall be held to answer for criminal offenses unless an indictment of grand jury, except in cases in which the punishment is by fine or imprisonment, otherwise in a penitentiary, in cases of impeachment, and in cases arising from the Army, Navy, or militia when in actual service of time of war or public danger, which we all see that in the Fifth. So you see in this one section, we see where they're pulling elements from both the Fifth and Sixth to grant us a speedy trial. And there are several securities that we see in there. Now I have a question, and this is by no means an indictment of any of our judges, but what was going on in 2020? Our courts came to a screeching halt. Did anybody notice that? Yet the Constitution didn't say they have a right to a public and speedy jury except when there's a pandemic going on. Yet some of our dockets were held up months and months and months. In some cases, my understanding, even a year, that they were waiting for their day in court. So these are little reminders that we need to know that we have that right not to just be held in limbo, waiting for our charges. Now I want to continue on because there's some important things we can learn from bail, which we see in Section 11. All prisoners shall be bailable by sufficient securities unless for capital offenses when proof is evident, but the provision shall not be so construed as to prevent bail after indictment found upon examination of the evidence in such a manner as may be prescribed by law. So we can't have excessive bail. We also find that in the Eighth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And why do we have that? Because prior to the United States, prior to the Eighth Amendment, it was not uncommon to throw somebody in jail and wait and wait and wait and wait for their trial. And they couldn't bond out. And they didn't have a speedy jury. And they were just sitting in jail, guilty or innocent. We don't know because we were waiting so long. So we see these in both our U.S. and Texas constitutions to ensure that people don't wind up in jail excessively when they may be innocent, because we don't find that out until we can get them into a trial, right? Now, I want to just kind of mention that there's another lesson that we can learn from our Texas Constitution. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the sections 11, subsequent 11, because section 11 was bail. But section 11A is denial of bail after multiple felonies. Because we were kind of starting to see some of these repeat habitual offenders, right? So they changed things a little bit. Which that was added in 1956 and then amended in 1977. And then amended again in 1993. Section 11B, denial of bail for violation of condition of release. That was added in 2005 and amended in 2007. Denial of bail for violation of protective order involving family violence. That was added in 2007. Now, how many of y'all remember the elections that we had just last November? How many constitutional amendments were on that ballot? And how many showed up to the polls? So here's my little two-bit on this, and this is my humble opinion. Especially in an off-cycle year, when I see a whole bunch of constitutional amendments on the ballot, I'm immediately suspicious.
Amen.
Because we have a government that knows the way to get a constitutional amendment passed is put it on the ballot when nobody's showing up.
Right.
And so, when I see constitutional amendments on the ballot, my default is to say no. I need to be convinced that it really needs to be passed. Because I think we have kind of as a society said, well, the legislature is putting this before us. We need to go along with it because they know more what's going on than we do.
No.
Where's that got us?
Yeah.
Right? So we need to not only pay attention to what's on the ballot, we need to encourage people. And we're hearing it more and more. And the silver lining of 2020 is we're waking up. Right? Churches need to get involved. Civic organizations need to get involved. We need to encourage our neighbors. We need our precinct churches to get out there and tell people, this is what's on our ballot.
Preach on.
Amen.
Get to the polls.
Yes.
Not just in a presidential election, but every single election. Because they're going to bind us in our own chains
Right.
with our lawful consent.
Yes.
Of what, 10% that show up if we're lucky?
Right.
So, we do have this mechanism to alter or add to our Constitution. But that's not something we need to be playing with every year.
Right.
It's not something we need to take lightly. We need to take that one very, very serious. So, thank you for your time this evening. This is my time's up. I'm going to pass the mic back.